The transport ship docked at Station Meridian 7 on a cold morning in the artificial winter cycle. Commander Al stood at the observation window, watching the new recruits file out in neat lines. His 6 limbs were folded behind his back in the traditional posture of patience. He had been an instructor at the Galactic Union Military Academy for 23 years. He had trained soldiers from over 300 different species. He thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. The human contingent came last, as they always did. Humans were still new to the galactic community. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 40 years ago. Most species still considered them primitive, emotional, and unremarkable. Their physical abilities were average. Their technology was basic. The only thing interesting about humans, most aliens agreed, was how quickly they learned. Al scanned the group of 32 human recruits. Most of them looked nervous. Some tried to hide their fear behind loud voices and big smiles. A few stood rigid, trying too hard to look professional. All of this was normal, expected. Then his 4 eyes landed on her. She stood near the back of the group, a small woman, perhaps 23 years old by human counting. Her hair was black and cut to her shoulders. Her face showed no expression at all. She was not nervous. She was not trying to look brave. She was simply watching. Al felt something cold move through his chest. He did not know why. There was nothing special about her file. Her name was. She came from a place called in the Pacific sector of Earth. Her test scores were acceptable but not impressive. She had no military background. She had worked as a cleaning technician before joining the academy. But something about the way she stood made Al uncomfortable. She was too still, too calm, like deep water that hid sharp rocks beneath. He marked her file for personal observation and went down to begin the orientation. The first week passed like all first weeks. The recruits learned the layout of the station. They received their uniforms, their weapons, their schedules. They were assigned to squads of 5 and given barracks. Was placed in Squad 7 with 4 other humans. Her squad leader was a young man named. He was tall and loud and full of confidence. He had been a security officer on Earth and believed this made him qualified to lead. He talked constantly, filling every silence with words. Never filled any silence. During the first squad meeting, asked everyone to introduce themselves. A former factory worker with big hands and a bigger laugh told jokes about his, who had studied medicine before enlisting, spoke quietly about wanting to help people. The youngest at 20 talked too fast about her dreams of seeing other planets. When it was turn, she simply bowed, a small, polite bow, then she sat back down. Waited, that's it, no name, no story. Looked at him, her eyes were dark brown, almost black. She nodded once, that was all. Okay then, said, forcing a laugh. Guess we've got a mysterious one. The others laughed too, but it was uncomfortable laughter. Something about made people uneasy, though nobody could explain why. As the days passed, the instructors began to notice her, not because she was exceptional. Her scores in physical training were average. Her written exams were adequate. She followed orders without complaint. She caused no problems. What they noticed was the silence. She never spoke during lectures. She never asked questions. She never complained about the food or the cold showers or the 5-hour study sessions. When other recruits gathered in the common areas to talk and laugh and release their stress, she sat alone in a corner watching. Always watching. Instructor, a reptilian who taught weapons maintenance, mentioned it to Al one evening. The silent human disturbs me, he said, his tail twitching with unease. She learns too quickly. I showed the class how to disassemble a Model 7 rifle yesterday. Standard lesson takes most recruits a week to master. She did it perfectly on her first attempt, without asking a single question. Perhaps she has a natural talent, Al suggested. That is not talent. I watched her. She did not look at the rifle. She looked at my hands. She was not learning the weapon. She was learning me. Al did not sleep well that night. He began to watch more closely through the station's hidden cameras. What he saw made his unease grow. She never seemed to rest, even when she was motionless. Her eyes moved constantly, tracking patterns that Al could not see. She memorized guard schedules within 3 days. She knew which maintenance corridors were empty at which hours. She had mapped every camera location, including several that were classified. She never did anything wrong with this knowledge. She never broke rules or snuck around. She simply knew, as if gathering information was as natural to her as breathing. One night, Al reviewed footage of her in the barracks. It was late and her were asleep. She sat on her bed, perfectly still, staring at nothing. Then, slowly, she turned her head and looked directly at the camera. Not near the camera, at it. The camera was hidden inside a light fixture. Its location was known only to senior staff. There was no way she could have found it. But she looked at it, and in the dim light, Al could swear he saw the smallest smile on her face. The next morning, he filed his first report to High Command. He chose his words carefully, knowing they would sound paranoid. But he had learned to trust his instincts in 23 years of war. The report read, "Recruit displays behavioral patterns inconsistent with her background and test scores. Recommend elevated monitoring. Subject shows unusual awareness of her environment. Possible prior training not listed in file. Possible threat assessment pending." He hesitated over the last sentence. Then he added, "There is something wrong about this woman. I do not know what, but I am afraid of her, and I am not afraid of anything." He sent the report and waited. 600 light-years away, in an office that officially did not exist, a screen flickered with the incoming message. A figure with no name read the report once, twice, 3 times. Then they made a call. "We may have found another one," they said. "A human this time. Station Meridian 7. I want eyes on her within the week." The call ended, the screen went dark. And in her barracks on Station Meridian 7, lay in her bed with her eyes closed. She was not asleep. She was listening to the station breathe around her, counting heartbeats, measuring distances, preparing for whatever came next. She had been preparing her whole life. She just had not known what for until now. 4 weeks into training, the recruits faced their first real test. The combat aptitude trials were designed to break soldiers. They threw squads into simulated war zones with impossible odds and watched how they performed under pressure. Most recruits failed their first trial. The Academy expected this. Failure was a teacher. Squad 7 drew Scenario 12. The briefing was simple. A civilian transport had crashed in hostile territory. 5 survivors waited for rescue in the ruins of a bombed city. The squad had 20 minutes to reach them and extract them to safety. Standing in their way were 20 combat drones programmed to kill. Gathered his team in the staging area, his face was serious but excited. This was his chance to prove himself as a leader. "Okay, listen up," he said. "I'll take point. You're on my left, right flank. You stay in the middle with the medical kit." And he paused, looking at her. She stood slightly apart from the group, her rifle held loosely in her hands. "You cover our backs, support position, just follow our lead." Nodded once. The city simulation was impressive. Ruined buildings rose around them, their walls with fake blast marks. Smoke drifted through broken windows. The sound of distant explosions echoed from hidden speakers. It felt real. That was the point. Moved forward with confidence. He had trained for this. He knew the theory: push fast, hit hard, maintain momentum. He signaled the squad to advance. They made it 40 seconds before everything went wrong. Led them into a narrow street between 2 collapsed buildings. It was unnatural, the kind of place smart soldiers avoided, but was thinking about speed, not caution. He wanted to impress the instructors. The drones were waiting. They came from above, dropping from the rooftops like metal spiders. They came from the sides, bursting through doorways. They came from behind, cutting off retreat. In 3 seconds, Squad 7 was surrounded. Went down first. A drone caught her with a training round to the chest. The impact was not lethal, but the suit she wore registered the hit as a critical wound. She collapsed, gasping, out of the fight. Panicked, he had never been shot at before, not even with fake bullets. He broke from cover and ran, firing wildly. A drone tracked his movement and dropped him with 2 shots to the legs. Froze, her finger was on the trigger, but her body would not obey. Fear had locked her muscles. She stood in the open like a statue, waiting to be killed. Screamed orders that nobody followed. He was trying to retreat and advance at the same time, his training forgotten in the chaos. In the observation room above the simulation, Commander Al leaned forward. His 4 eyes were fixed on a single figure. Moved. There was no hesitation, no fear. One moment she was standing still, the next she was flowing through the battlefield like water through cracks in stone. Her rifle rose to her shoulder and spoke once. A drone exploded. She was already turning, already firing again. 2 more drones fell. She reached in 4 steps. Without looking down, her hands found the medical kit on belt. She pulled out a tourniquet and wrapped it around Al's arm, applying pressure to a secondary wound the suit had registered. Her eyes never stopped moving, tracking targets, calculating angles. A drone emerged from a doorway to her left. She shot it without turning her head, using only the reflection in a broken window to aim. She grabbed by the back of his vest and dragged him behind a concrete barrier. He was heavy, but she moved him like he weighed nothing. 3 more shots, 3 more drones down. Was still frozen, crossed the distance between them in 2 seconds. She did not shout, she did not shake her. She simply placed one hand on shoulder and squeezed gently. The touch broke the spell, gasped and blinked, suddenly aware of where she was. Move, said. It was the first word anyone had heard her speak in a month. Her voice was soft, calm, almost kind. Moved. 11 seconds. The entire sequence had taken 11 seconds. In that time had eliminated 14 drones, rescued 2, and repositioned the entire team into a defensible location. Finally reached them, breathing hard, he stared at with his mouth open. How? What? Where did you? Did not answer, she pointed to a building on their left. Survivors, 3 minutes. She was right. The rescue targets were exactly where she indicated. The squad completed the extraction with 0 simulated deaths. Their time was the fastest in Academy history. In the observation room, Al sat back in his chair. His hands were shaking. In 23 years, he had never seen anything like what he had just witnessed. He had trained soldiers who became generals. He had fought beside warriors who became legends. None of them moved like that. Computer, he said quietly. Replay the last 90 seconds, slow motion, 20% speed. He watched it again, and again, and again. Each time he noticed something new. The way she had positioned her feet before each shot, perfect balance maintained through every movement. The way her eyes had tracked threats before they appeared, as if she knew where the drones would be before they arrived. The way she had calculated the exact amount of force needed to move, the exact pressure needed to snap out of her fear. This was not training. Training could not produce this. This was something else, something that should not exist. After the trial, found in the equipment room cleaning her rifle. The others had gone to celebrate, but she was alone, methodically wiping down each component. Hey, he said, I need to ask you something. She looked up, her face was the same as always, calm, patient, unreadable. Where did you learn to fight like that? That wasn't basic training, that was. I don't even know what that was. Was silent for a long moment, then she returned to cleaning her rifle. I learned to survive, she said finally. That is all. Wanted to push further, but something in her voice stopped him. It was not a threat. It was not a warning. It was simply a door closing. Whatever she was, wherever she came from, she was not going to share it with him. He left her alone. That night, Al submitted his second report to High Command. This one was longer. It included timestamps, trajectory analyses, reaction time measurements. It included a single conclusion that he had written and rewritten a dozen times before sending. Recruit displays combat capabilities far beyond human baseline. Reaction time approximately 0.08 seconds, roughly 3 times faster than average human soldiers and faster than most species in the Galactic database. Tactical awareness suggests either precognitive ability or an unknown form of enhanced perception. I do not know what she is. I do not know where she came from, but I recommend immediate classification as a potential strategic asset, and possibly as a threat. He added one final line before sending. Whatever we do next, we should do it carefully. I do not think she will allow herself to be controlled, and I do not think any of us could stop her if she decided to resist. 600 light-years away, the figures in the office that did not exist read his report. They began making arrangements to visit Station Meridian 7 personally. They needed to see this woman for themselves. And they needed to decide what to do about her before she decided what to do about them. 8 weeks into training, strange visitors came to Station Meridian 7. They arrived on a ship with no markings, docking in a bay that was supposed to be closed for maintenance. They wore uniforms that belonged to no military branch anyone recognized, and they asked questions about only one person. Commander Al learned about them when Admiral So summoned him to her office. The Admiral was a human woman in her late 50s, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many wars. She had commanded fleets, negotiated treaties, and buried more soldiers than she could count. Very little surprised her anymore. But today she looked worried. "Sit down, Commander," she said. "We need to talk about your recruit." Three figures stood in the corner of the office. Al studied them carefully. They were tall and thin, with pale skin that seemed to shift color slightly in different light. Their eyes were solid black, with no visible pupils. He had never seen their species before. They did not introduce themselves. "These representatives are from the Strategic Projections Division," Admiral So explained. "They model futures, they predict threats. They have been watching our academy for some time, looking for certain patterns." "And they found one in recruit?" Al asked. One of the visitors spoke. Its voice was strange, like multiple voices layered on top of each other. "We found an anomaly, a deviation from expected probability curves. Your human female registers on scales that should not apply to her species." Al felt his secondary arms twitch. "What kind of scales?" "Galactic-Class threat assessment scales." The room went very quiet. Al knew about Galactic-Class threats. Every military officer did. They were the nightmares that kept admirals awake at night. Individuals so powerful, so dangerous, that they could shift the balance of power between entire civilizations. There were only 12 confirmed cases in all of recorded history. A psychic warlord who had enslaved 3-star systems with his mind. A scientist who had built a weapon capable of destroying suns. A soldier whose tactical genius had allowed a minor species to conquer an empire. "You believe a cleaning technician from Earth is a Galactic-Class threat?" Al asked slowly. "We believe she has the potential to become one," the visitor replied. "Our models show a 94.7% probability of continued capability expansion. Her current abilities are already exceptional. In 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we cannot predict what she might become." Admiral So slid a tablet across her desk. Al picked it up and read the preliminary assessment. The numbers were terrifying. Reaction times were 3 times faster than the human average. Her spatial awareness exceeded that of species evolved for 3-dimensional combat. Her pattern recognition abilities were comparable to advanced artificial intelligence, and she was improving. Every week her test scores rose, not dramatically, not enough to draw attention, but steadily, relentlessly. "What do you want to do with her?" Al asked. "We want to take her," the visitor said. "Study her, understand her, learn how she became what she is. Perhaps we can replicate the process. Perhaps we can prevent others from following the same path. Either way, she is too dangerous to remain in a standard training program." "She is a recruit under my command," Al said carefully. "She has broken no laws. She has violated no regulations. By what authority would you take her?" The visitor's black eyes showed no emotion. "Authority is a construct of the weak. We are here to protect the galaxy from threats it cannot comprehend. Your recruit may be such a threat. We will take whatever steps are necessary to neutralize that threat." Admiral So raised a hand. "Nothing will be decided today. I've agreed to allow extended observation. These representatives will remain on the station for several weeks to gather more data. After that, we will discuss options." The visitors left without another word. When the door closed behind them, Al turned to the Admiral. "You're not going to let them take her," he said. It was not a question. So was quiet for a long moment. "I watched the footage from the combat trials, 14 drones in 11 seconds, and the way she moved arm." She applied the tourniquet without looking, perfectly placed while tracking 6 different targets. "That's not human. That shouldn't be possible for any known species." "And yet she is human," Al said. "Born on Earth, raised by her grandmother. No genetic modifications, no cybernetic enhancements, no external factors that could explain her abilities." "Exactly." So stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "Which means either our understanding of humans is wrong or something happened to her that changed her, something we don't understand yet. The visitors believe she is dangerous." "The visitors are afraid." So turned back to face him. "I've been fighting wars for 40 years, Commander. I've learned to tell the difference between a weapon and a soldier. Weapons are tools. They do what they're designed to do, nothing more. Soldiers are people. They choose who to fight for. They choose what to protect." "And which is?" "I don't know yet. That's what I need you to help me find out." Meanwhile, the observers began their work. They installed hidden sensors throughout the station. They monitored vital signs, her sleep patterns, her brain activity. They ran simulations based on her recorded behavior, trying to predict what she would do next. They also began testing her, small things at first. They changed her schedule without warning. They moved her equipment to different locations. They created minor conflicts with other recruits. They wanted to see how she adapted, how she responded to stress, whether they could find any weakness. Noticed everything. She adapted perfectly every time, and she never showed any sign of stress. The observers grew more aggressive. They arranged for her food to be slightly poisoned, not enough to harm her, just enough to make her sick. She did not eat it. They tried to access her personal belongings while she was in training. She had left nothing of value behind. They sent other recruits to pick fights with her. She avoided every confrontation without appearing to try. After 2 weeks, the lead observer submitted a report to the others. Subject is aware of our presence. She has identified our testing protocols and is actively countering them. Recommend immediate extraction before she becomes more difficult to control. The recommendation was rejected. The Strategic Projections Division wanted more data. And so the observers continued to watch, and continued to let them. But something was changing. The other recruits had started to notice her in a different way, not with suspicion or fear, but with something closer to respect. She still did not speak, still kept to herself, but she had started helping. Small things, adjusting grip during weapons training, leaving medical study notes on desk, showing a faster route through the obstacle course. Mentioned it to Al during a routine evaluation. She's weird, he admitted. But she's one of us. I don't know how to explain it. When we're in the field, I know she's got my back. I know she won't let anything happen to the squad. That's more than I can say for half the soldiers I've worked with. Al noted this in his own report. It was a detail the observers had missed. They were so focused on measuring her as a threat that they had not considered what else she might be. A protector, a guardian, someone who chose to shield others from harm. The question was, what would happen when she discovered that the greatest threat to her squad was not enemy soldiers or combat drones? What would happen when she learned that the people watching her wanted to take her away from everything she was learning to care about? Al did not know the answer, but he suspected they would all find out soon. 11 weeks into training, the Academy announced joint exercises with the Orc contingent. The Orc were a species known throughout the galaxy for their warrior culture. They had 4 arms, armored skin, and mandibles that could cut through steel. They believed that combat was the highest form of expression, and they had little respect for species they considered weak. They considered humans very weak. The exercises were supposed to build cooperation between different species. In practice, they were often brutal. The Orc did not understand the concept of holding back. Their training matches frequently resulted in serious injuries. The Academy medical staff prepared extra beds whenever the Orc were involved. The senior or instructor was named K. He was old for his species, nearly 40 years, with scars covering most of his carapace. He had fought in 3 major wars and killed more enemies than he could remember. He commanded respect through fear, and he enjoyed causing pain. He noticed on the first day of joint exercises. "That one," he said to his aide, pointing across the training field. "The silent human female, what is her designation?" "Recruit, Squad 7. She is ranked first in combat effectiveness among the human contingent." Kay's mandibles clicked with amusement. First among humans means nothing. Humans are prey animals pretending to be predators. Look at her. She stands like she thinks she is dangerous. I will show her what dangerous truly means. He arranged for a special sparring session, Squad 7 against 4 of his best cadets. The official purpose was close quarters combat practice. The unofficial purpose was humiliation. The match was scheduled for the following afternoon. Word spread quickly through the station. Most recruits found excuses to watch from the observation galleries. Even the instructors gathered to see what would happen. Squad was nervous, tried to hide it behind bravado, but his hands shook slightly as he wrapped his wrists. Made jokes that nobody laughed at. Looked pale. Reviewed medical procedures for treating penetration wounds. Only seemed calm. She stood apart from the others, stretching slowly, her eyes half closed. She might have been preparing for a light workout rather than a fight against aliens twice her size. The match began. Kay had given his cadets special instructions. Focus on the silent one. Make her scream, make her beg, show the humans their place in the galaxy. The 4 are surrounded immediately. They ignored her, pushing past and like they were obstacles rather than opponents. Their focus was absolute. Tried to help, One of the or backhanded her casually, sending her flying into the wall. She hit hard and did not get up. Moved toward but another or blocked her path, mandibles clicking in threat. The message was clear, stay out of it. Rushed forward, hey, this isn't. Or arm caught him across the chest and knocked him down. Before he could rise, a heavy foot pressed against his throat. Not hard enough to kill, just hard enough to keep him still. Stood frozen, unable to move, unable to help. And stood in the center of the ring, surrounded by 4 or warriors, each of them twice her height and 3 times her weight. Kay watched from the edge of the ring, his eyes bright with anticipation. Begin, he said. The first or attacked. He swung his primary arm in a strike that could have broken bones. It was fast, faster than most species could track. Was not there. She had moved before his arm began to swing, stepping sideways and forward in a single fluid motion. Her hand found the joint where his upper arm met his shoulder. She pushed, not hard, just precisely. The Or screamed. His arm bent backward at an angle that should have been impossible. He collapsed, clutching his dislocated shoulder, unable to fight. The other 3 or hesitated. They had never seen a human move like that. They had never seen anyone move like that. Then they attacked together. What happened next lasted exactly 3 seconds. Later, the Academy would review the footage frame by frame, trying to understand what they were seeing. They would count 47 distinct impacts. They would measure angles and forces and trajectories. They would write papers about it that would be studied for generations. But in the moment, it was simply beautiful. Flowed through the Or like wind through leaves. She did not fight them. She dismantled them. Every movement served multiple purposes. A block became a strike, became a redirect, became a throw. She found joints and pressure points that even or anatomy experts did not know existed. She applied exactly enough force to incapacitate, exactly enough pain to disable, exactly enough damage to end the fight. When she finished, 4 or warriors lay on the ground around her. All of them were conscious. All of them were in agony. None of them would die. None of them would be permanently damaged. They would heal completely within weeks. She had calculated everything. The training hall was silent. Even Kay had stopped clicking his mandibles. His eyes were wide, showing white around the edges. He was afraid. For the first time in 40 years, he was truly afraid. Stood in the center of the ring, breathing steadily. She was not tired. She was not injured. She looked exactly the same as she had before the fight began. Then she turned her head. She looked up at the observation gallery, at a specific spot near the back where shadows gathered. It was a spot that should have been invisible from the floor. It was a spot where 3 figures in unmarked uniforms stood watching. The observers, the ones who wanted to take her, the ones who had been testing her for weeks. Looked directly at them, and she spoke. Her voice carried across the silent hall. It was soft, almost gentle. Her accent was slight, her words careful and precise. I know you are there, she said. I know what you want, I know what you are afraid of. The observers did not move. They could not have responded even if they wanted to. Her eyes held them frozen. I am not your weapon, continued. I am not your subject, I am not your experiment. She paused, letting the words settle. I am a soldier. I fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. I protect those who need protection. That is all I am. That is all I will ever be. She bowed a small, formal bow, not to the observers, to the room, to everyone watching. That is all I have to say. Then she walked across the ring to where lay against the wall. She helped the young woman to her feet, checking her for injuries with careful hands. She moved too, offering him a hand up. She collected with a gentle touch on his arm, guiding him toward the exit. As Squad 7 left the training hall, paused at the door. She looked back at Kay, who had not moved from his position. Your cadets will heal, she said, but they will remember this. Teach them better. Teach them that strength without control is not strength at all. It is just violence waiting to destroy itself. She left. The silence lasted for a very long time. In the observation gallery, the lead observer turned to the others. His black eyes were unreadable, but his voice carried something new, something that might have been respect. She knew we were here, he said. She knew everything, and she chose to reveal that knowledge now in this way in front of witnesses. What does that mean? Another observer asked. It means she is not afraid of us. It means she wanted us to know that she is not afraid, and it means He paused, considering. It means we need to reconsider our approach. This human is not what we expected. She is something else entirely. The observers departed Station Meridian 7 the next morning. They left without filing any extraction orders, without demanding any special measures, without making any threats. Commander Al never learned exactly what they decided, but he noticed that was left alone after that day. No more tests, no more provocations, no more watching from hidden places. She had drawn her line, and somehow, impossibly, the galaxy had chosen to respect it. 14 weeks after she arrived at Station Meridian 7, stood in the graduation hall with 300 other recruits. She wore the same uniform as everyone else. She stood in the same formation. From a distance, she looked completely ordinary. But everyone in that hall knew better now. The story of what happened in the training ring had spread across the entire station within hours. By the end of the week, it had reached other academies, other stations, other worlds. A human woman who had disabled 4 warriors in 3 seconds. A recruit who had looked directly at the Strategic Projections Division and told them she was not afraid. The galaxy was paying attention to humanity in a new way. Admiral So stood at the podium, reading out names and assignments. Most graduates received standard postings, security details, patrol ships, garrison duties. Safe positions where they could learn and grow under the supervision of experienced officers. When she reached name, she paused. She said, "Step forward," moved through the ranks and approached the podium. Her face was calm, her movements precise. She stopped exactly 2 meters from the Admiral and waited. So studied her for a long moment. The whole hall was watching. Nobody made a sound. "Recruit," So said finally. "You entered this academy with no military background. You passed your entrance exams with adequate scores. Your file described you as a cleaning technician from..." A small ripple of uncomfortable laughter moved through the crowd. Everyone knew that description no longer fit. Over the past 14 weeks, you have broken 17 academy records. You have demonstrated abilities that our analysts still cannot fully explain. You have been observed, tested, provoked, and pushed in ways that no other recruit has ever experienced. So's voice hardened slightly. And through all of it, you never complained. You never asked for special treatment. You never used your abilities to gain advantage for yourself. She picked up a small case from the podium and opened it. Inside was a badge, a silver circle with a single star in the center. The Pathfinder designation is given to soldiers who operate ahead of main forces. Pathfinders find ways through impossible situations. They go where others cannot go. They face dangers that others cannot face, and they bring their people home. She held out the badge. This designation has been awarded only 43 times in the history of the Galactic Union. You are the 44th, and you are the first human to receive it. Accepted the badge with both hands, bowing slightly. For a moment, something flickered across her face, not quite emotion, but something close to it. Then her expression smoothed back to its usual calm. "Thank you, Admiral," she said. Her voice was quiet but clear. "I will try to be worthy of it." After the ceremony, Squad 7 gathered in their barracks one final time. Tomorrow, they would receive their permanent assignments and scatter across the galaxy. This was their last night together. Had managed to find some bottles of something that was probably not regulation. He passed them around, grinning. "To Squad 7, he said, raising his bottle. "The weirdest, scariest, most impressive squad in Academy history." "To Squad 7, the others echoed. Held her bottle but did not drink. She watched her with something that might have been affection in her dark eyes. Scooted closer to her. "Hey, can I ask you something?" Tilted her head slightly, waiting. "All that stuff you did, the fighting, the way you move, knowing things you shouldn't know, where did it come from? I mean, I know you said you learned to survive, but that doesn't explain all of it." The barracks went quiet. Everyone had wondered the same thing. Nobody had ever asked directly. Was silent for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than usual. "When I was 9 years old, my parents died in an accident, a factory explosion. I watched it happen. Nobody moved, nobody breathed. After that, I lived with my grandmother. She was old and sick. She could not protect me, so I learned to protect myself." Looked down at her hands. "I watched everything. I memorized patterns. I learned how people moved, how they thought, how they made decisions. I taught myself to see dangers before they arrived." That doesn't explain the physical stuff, said gently. The speed, the strength. No, agreed. I do not understand that part myself. It started when I was young after my parents died. Small things at first, moving faster than I should be able to move, knowing where people were without seeing them. It grew stronger as I grew older. She paused. I do not know why, I do not know how. I only know that it is part of me now, like breathing, like thinking. Leaned forward. Does it scare you, having abilities you don't understand? Considered the question carefully. Sometimes, she admitted. I do not know my limits. I do not know what I might become. The observers who came to watch me, they were afraid of what I could be in the future. They saw me as a threat. But you're not a threat, said quickly. You saved us. In the simulation, in the fight with Theor, every time things got bad, you protected us. Yes, looked around at each of them in turn. That is what I choose to do. That is who I choose to be. The observers wanted to control me because they feared what I might become if left free. But they did not understand something important. What's that? Asked. I have already chosen my path. His voice was firm now, certain. I protect people. I fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. Not because someone orders me to, not because I am programmed to, because that is what I want to do. That is the person I want to be. She finally raised her bottle. Whatever I become in the future, whatever power I might gain, that choice will not change. I made it when I was 9 years old, watching my parents die. I made it again when I decided to join the military, and I make it again now with all of you. She drank. The others drank with her. 600 light-years away, in the archives of the Strategic Projections Division, a file was being updated. Analysts had spent weeks modeling potential futures, running probability calculations, trying to predict what she would become. The final assessment was logged and sealed. Only a handful of beings in the galaxy had clearance to read it. It began with the standard classification, Galactic-Class threat confirmed. But the details that followed were not what anyone had expected. Subject has demonstrated consistent orientation toward protection rather than destruction. Capability ceiling remains undefined and is likely still expanding. However, all behavioral modeling indicates strong ethical framework resistant to corruption or manipulation. Probability of subject using abilities for harmful purposes, less than 0.3%. Probability of subject actively opposing threats to galactic stability, greater than 99%. Analysis: subject represents not a threat to the galactic order, but a potential guardian of it. Her voluntary integration into Union military structure is the optimal outcome for all involved parties. Recommendation: no intervention. Continue observation only. Do not attempt to control, contain, or restrict. Any such attempt will likely fail and may trigger defensive response with catastrophic consequences. Final note: we have spent centuries preparing for the emergence of Galactic-Class threats. We built systems to identify them, contain them, neutralize them. We never considered the possibility that such a being might choose, of their own free will, to become a protector rather than a destroyer. Perhaps that is the most human thing about her. Perhaps that is why humanity may be more important than we ever imagined. Never saw the report. She did not need to. On her first day as a Pathfinder, she reported to her new assignment aboard the patrol cruiser Steady Wind. Was there too, assigned as her squad leader. Had requested transfer to the same ship, and had found postings on nearby vessels. They were still together. They would stay together for a long time. As the Steady Wind pulled away from Station Meridian 7, stood at a viewport and watched the stars. The galaxy was vast and dangerous and full of wonders she had not yet seen. She did not know what the future held. She did not know what she would become. But she knew who she was. She knew what she had chosen. And that, she decided, was enough. It would always be enough.